What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Bret back on the show. What's up, Bret? Good to have you on.
Hey, Alex. Yeah, glad to be back, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. Always appreciate your insight. And this is a big one. This is the 2020 Tampa Bay Bucs season preview. A lot of change in Tampa Bay in just 1 year. They bring in the GOAT, quarterback Tom Brady. They bring in the Gronk, Rob Gronkowski, to go with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. A lot of firepower in Tampa Bay, and the expectations have gone through the roof. But let's start with 2019. The Bucs go 7-9 and finish third in the division and miss the playoffs for the 12th straight season. So bringing in Brady and these guys having playoff expectations is good to have in Tampa Bay after 12 years of missing the playoffs.
Yep.
Jameis Winston last year, he led the NFL in passing yards, over 5,000 yards, but he also became the first quarterback in NFL history to throw 30 touchdown passes and 30 picks in the same season. So you get good and bad with Jameis Winston. A lot of passing yards, a lot of touchdowns, but a lot of turnovers. Jameis Winston leaves this offseason and is signed with division rival the New Orleans Saints. First of all, what's your reaction to Jameis Winston last year, and where he's at? Leads the league in passing yards, 30 touchdowns, but too many turnovers. Do you think that's Tampa Bay is smart to move on from Winston, regardless of who the replacement is?
I think maybe not regardless of who the replacement is.
Yeah.
Knowing that he's coming in, yes.
Yeah.
Just because of who it is.
Yeah.
But it's hard. A lot of these NFL games come down, you see the final score is 24-21, 20-16, 28-24.
Yeah.
That's one possession. And even though Winston has put you there to be one possession ahead, he's also in several games taking you one possession behind.
Yes.
So it's hard, it's really hard to sit there and see his success, like being, his passing yards and touchdowns. But then seeing that he's matching those touchdowns with interceptions, those are that could cause 1, 2, 3 losses.
Yeah.
You from 7-9 like they were to 10-6 and making the playoffs. So I think knowing, like, if they knew that Brady was coming there, yeah, it's probably the right move. But then again, Winston's been there for a while and things haven't, I guess, planned out or progressed the way that they wanted to. So maybe it was time for a regime change there.
That is a good way to think about it. They drafted him number 1 overall and haven't made the playoffs yet. So maybe it was time to move on for him. I was watching Bruce Arians' interview at the Combine, I believe it was, and he was like, they asked him, like, are you looking to replace Jameis Winston? He's like, who do you got? He's like, is it an upgrade or not? And that was pretty much, once Tom Brady becomes available, all right, that's a clear upgrade, and it absolutely makes sense to go that route. So Tom Brady joins. Huge acquisition. Anytime you get Brady, automatically you're in contention. You add that with LaShawn McCoy, was an excellent add. You add Brady, then everyone else follows. Gronk comes in because of Brady. So, now you got a double-headed tight end combination of Rob Gronkowski and O.J. Howard. That's pretty nasty right there.
Yeah.
In turn, that leads to Leonard Fournette recently joining. That's a huge acquisition. So you got double to triple-headed running backs, double-headed tight end, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans receiving. That's huge. What do you think, based on last year Tom Brady? We saw a little bit of a regression in Tom Brady, or struggle last year. Now, granted, some of it was his weapons around him. What do you think of Tom Brady uh, going into 2020? I mean, he's clearly got the weapons now. Do you think he can have that, be old school Tom Brady, be the best quarterback in football?
Yeah, I think, you know, even though Brady's age is there, like we just talked about Breeze and how he's still there.
Yeah.
I don't think that people want to come on board as much as they have, like Gronk and Fournette, if they don't think that Brady's still there. And you don't move on from, yes, Winston has turned the ball over, he's turnover prone, but he led the league last year in passing yards. He just needs a little fix.
Mm-hmm.
So, like we said, they did draft him number 1 overall. They haven't made the playoffs yet with him, but it is Brady, and Brady's had a legacy. And I think that he's still, if they can use those pieces that are around him offensively, and keep him in one, piece himself, I should say, then I don't see why Brady can't be who he's always been and get the Buccaneers back, not just to the playoffs, but beyond.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, their father time catches up to everybody, and he's definitely getting older, and so is Breeze. But I still think there's enough talent there, especially with all those weapons around him, that he can get enough. And the thing about both Brady and Breeze is they do an excellent job, unlike Winston, of protecting the football. And so when you protect the football, that allows your skills to diminish somewhat, yet you still be very effective because you take care of the ball. And that's what they've both done very well of to extend their careers. Um, Now, the Gronk edition, how surprised were you by the Gronk edition? Everyone was like, he's retired. There's a chance he could return to New England last year, didn't do it. And I think most people at that point kind of ruled Gronk out. But you see Brady go here, and suddenly it's like Gronk didn't want to go back to New England. He was tired of the Belichick way. And as soon as Brady signed somewhere else, Gronk's like, count me in. What do you think of that signing and Gronk's mentality?
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't think Gronk wanted to be in New England anymore.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they were winning or not, there was just something there that he didn't like. Because, I mean, he's not in the age to be retiring. I mean, there's a lot of players who did it early, who have, but he, especially with him not coming back and then Brady going somewhere else, and then him jumping on immediately, I think it shows a lot that him not wanting to be there anymore. And it could have been that could be a huge reason why Brady left too. To want to get Gronk back, knowing that Gronk wasn't going to come back and that it was going to be different again there in New England, and what they could have had here in Tampa Bay. So him going down there and signing is huge because obviously, like you said, people want to follow him. People have. And signing Gronk, he's still the best tight end, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
like you can't not take anything away from the tight ends over the last couple of years, but I mean it's Gronk. Come on now, there's a reason that him and Brady are who they are, and they're gonna show it there in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and I don't expect a ton of production during the regular season from Gronk, but when Gronk becomes a very valuable weapon is at the end of the year when the games are on the line of the biggest games. And as long as you have Gronk healthy for those, that's huge. I do expect A.J. Howard to have a big year. And, Mike Evans and Godwin, I don't see how this Bucs team doesn't, put up some huge numbers and really, and that defense, I mean, there's so much talk about the offense. That defense is pretty nasty too. And we'll get to that here in a second. Now, the biggest talk is Leonard Fournette coming in recently. He gets released. The Jaguars are looking for trade partners. No one's interested. He hits the waivers. No one signs him. And then the Bucs pick him up. There was a little bit of talk about New England might be interested in him, but the Bucs jump and get him. You had Leonard Fournette with Ronald Jones and possibly Shady McCoy if he's still on the roster. That is a ton of talent in the running back room.
Yeah, they've got weapons. I mean, and it's not just at one skill position. Like it's the entire plethora of the offense.
Yeah.
Like they are loaded. So, and like you said, that defense has been stout. That defense is pretty nasty. So there's no reason that this team, their expectations last year are the complete opposite of what they are this year, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got just so much talent there. Now, what's your opinion? I mean, so a lot of the analytics crowd and certain people that say running backs don't matter and don't draft a running back high in the draft and blah, blah, blah. They've been down on Leonard Fournette since he was drafted. They say he was taken too high. He's never been that productive. My take on that, like Chris Sims said earlier today, is that who's the last good quarterback Leonard Fournette's had? I mean, he gets drafted by Jacksonville. He's had Blake Bortles and then Gardner Minshew. And when you got quarterbacks like that, that means, and a running back like Fournette, that means you got to deal with 8 to 9 in the box often. And he's never had a great offensive line there in Jacksonville. And so you look at all the weapons Tampa Bay has now, and in my mind, it should lead to much more open lanes, much more room for Fournette to get going.
Yeah, I think you're right. He hasn't had a whole lot in his career. And they're filling the box there, like you said. And nothing against Bortles. He did take him to that AFC Championship.
True.
Coming out Uncle Rico style. But
I'm just saying, neither of those are Tom Brady.
You're right. And that's where the defense comes in and has a whole different mindset. You're not going to put 8 or 9 in the box when Tom Brady's in there.
Exactly.
And that opens up a lot more things for, like you said, there's going to be, what this offense can do is, the sky's the limit here. Like, they could do it could be a plethora of things where they come out and hit you, and you're just like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah.
Because the way that their schemes can be, they're going to run all over the place. I don't see why they wouldn't have, Brady's going to be up there reading defenses. There's going to be audibles. He's going to be shifting guys across the field.
Yeah.
And if he sees something that he feels is going to, give his side an advantage, he's going to do it. And he's going to he has tons of massive weapons in order to make that decision with. So
the complete opposite of what he had in New England last year.
Right. And we see what he's done with nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine what he's going to be doing now with these guys and these pieces, and not, New England still had pieces somewhat, but not like Brady has here in Tampa Bay.
Not like this, exactly. He's had pieces. You can't forget Gronk, Prime Gronk, Moss, Edelman, Welker, but not like this. Not all on the same team at the same time.
Yeah, the thing I think he's going to miss the most is having White come out of the backfield as a swinging running back like that.
I'm glad you brought that up, though, because Ronald Jones is decent at that. If they keep Shady McCoy, he's always been a decent pass-catching running back. And Leonard Fournette, so I've talked to some of my friends and different people, and there's a common consensus that, Leonard Fournette's washed, and Leonard Fournette's, there's people that will be, suggesting he was a bust drafted.
He's been in the league for 3 years.
Yeah, and he's coming off of, I don't know how many people know this, Leonard Fournette is coming off of career highs in rushing yards, over 1,100, yards per rush at 4.3, and a career high in pass catches at 76. So if he can catch that many balls, Brady's going to hit him with passes. They're going to use him in the run game. Ronald Jones might get, a lot of the carries as well. I think they'll split, but Fournette's going to be used. And I don't see that much of a weakness. I think Fournette is so happy to get out of Jacksonville, a place where
Yeah.
he can shine and play in these big primetime games. I look for him to have a very productive year.
Yeah, I think he's gonna. He's not doing what he's done, like you just explained, stat-wise. The year that he's come up, where he was, he's
Yeah,
not going to have that necessarily,
yeah,
but it's
exactly.
still going to be big game. He's still going to
Yeah,
be able to provide more here in Tampa Bay than he did in Jacksonville, just because of now the dynamic of what he brings into that offense and what they're going to be.
and we see these big smash mouth type running backs. He reminds me a little bit of Derrick Henry. You
Yeah.
give these guys room, a lane to get going. Who wants to get in there and tackle these guys when they're running full speed?
Dude, Derrick Henry, man,
Henry and Fournette, they're beast running backs. So
they're huge.
it's gonna be crazy. And then so let's go. Let's look at the defensive side of the ball here for Tampa Bay. I mean, they're not getting talked about like the offense is, but I think they should. You still got Ndamukong Suh, who's solid. He's not Detroit Sue, but he's still pretty good. You got Vita Vea, you got Jason Pierre-Paul, you got the sack leader last year in Shaq Barrett. I mean, that combination right there with him and Jason Pierre-Paul, I believe Pierre-Paul and Shaq Barrett combined for 28 sacks last year. I mean,
That's
that's
more than some
incredible.
teams.
Then you got Devin White and Levante David at linebacker, and a very young secondary. Now, I found one of my new favorite corners this offseason, doing prep for this and others. Corner Carlton Davis on Tampa Bay. I didn't know much about him. I know he's from Auburn. That dude, watching his highlight tape from last year, that dude is nuts. And he is a hard hitting corner. He's an old school throwback corner that can hit hard. I mean, he laid Kamara out last year.
I
So
don't know if I remember seeing that, but now I'm going to be looking it up.
yeah, he's got a highlight tape up on YouTube right now. That's pretty nasty. And then looking at the draft board, who they took in the draft, they took Tristan Wirfs. Talk about protecting Tom Brady. Left tackle Tristan Wirfs to protect Brady. That's going to be huge. Let's look at this here. Right tackle Tristan Wirfs, as they've got Donovan Smith at left tackle. So Tristan Wirfs to protect Brady. Rookie safety Antoine Winfield Jr., who I actually wanted the Bears to draft. We ended up taking Cole Kmet, which I'm fine with, and Jalen Johnson, but I wanted Antoine Winfield Jr. He's going to be a solid safety. I was a big fan of his dad, Antoine Winfield. Rookie wide receiver Tyler Johnson, who I'm a big fan of as well. He's a raw, up-and-coming prospect that Brady can use. And so just a lot of options here for Tampa Bay going into 2020. I don't see how they have a massive letdown. I really don't. I think they've got too much talent to, I mean, what do you think about that? How good do you think that defense can be?
I think that the defense can. I mean, they came out. They were strong. They had to be out there quite a bit with the turnovers.
Yes.
So now, if Brady can control things on the offensive side and maybe give that defense a little bit more time in between defensive possessions to rest.
Yeah.
What they did, maybe they were out there a little bit too, more to try to produce the way that they did. But if they're out there efficiently now, I don't think that there's any reason that this defense is going to take a step back or step down. And this Tampa Bay defense, I mean, can really help this offense and vice versa. And this team can go places. I mean, just in a matter of a year, and getting Brady, like you said, if you build it, they will come. And he's trying to build something there, even if just for a year.
Yeah.
And this team, I think, defensively and offensively is going to be very terrorizing for teams throughout, if you see them on your schedule.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to. They're going back to the old school, like not the creamsicle, but the jerseys they had when they won the Super Bowl. Those
Yeah.
reddish Tampa Bay Buck jerseys, and those are gonna look sick with Brady and Gronk and all those guys in them, and Fournette. So and I really like the combination of Tom Brady said recently he hasn't had an offensive head coach since like I believe high school. He had a defensive head coach at Michigan. I believe it was Lloyd Carr.
Yeah.
And then he's had Bill Belichick his entire career. So Bruce Arians and up and coming play caller Byron Leftwich, that's a sick combo, and they're gonna love all those weapons. What's your prediction? I mean, you said you had the Saints win the division. Tampa Bay can't be too far back.
No, I have the Saints at 12-4. I've got Tampa Bay at 11-5.
All right.
9-12 win range.
Yep.
Really 10-12. I think it's hard to go against Brady and everything that he brings, especially with that defense. They're gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah.
But I think just with the way that New Orleans has, like we said, they've had that togetherness, they've had that team chemistry for a couple of years. Whereas now this year, there's no preseason like we've mentioned. You've got pieces coming in. Fournette just got signed 2 days ago. The season starts next week.
Yeah.
Not saying that stuff happens all the time, but that's not happening. That didn't happen for the Saints. They've had all their stuff. Yes, they've got the Kamara contract situation, but I think that's going to get nailed down pretty quickly, especially knowing what they're going to be going up against in this division with this Tampa Bay Bucs team.
Yeah, you see what Tampa Bay is doing. It's all hands on deck.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a one-game decision in the division, and that's going to come down probably to the last game.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like I said, I think the Saints are going to win this first one. I don't see that. I can't confidently say that they're going to win that second one, but I still think that they just have themselves. If it doesn't come down to that, they're going to have themselves in position and not have to worry about that. I don't know when the second game is, but
the versus the Saints.
The Saints and Bucs, yeah.
The second game is, let's see here, week 9.
Okay, so it's not going to be as much of an impact. It's still going to be an impact, but it's not like it would be week 15, 16, 17. So I think that the Buccaneers finish second. They make the playoffs with a wild card, and then they make some noise there. I just don't think – I think that the Saints have enough figured out to win the division, but I'm not going to take away from Brady being in the playoffs. It doesn't matter if he's in the first spot, the second, sixth. It's Brady in the playoffs. And with that defense, like you said, they can carry them through a few rounds.
Yeah, and if they get hot at the end of the year, that's all that matters. And, it's with this much talent, if they're healthy, health is the biggest key. But if they get into the playoffs healthy, the ceiling is the roof, as MJ would say. Now, for Tampa Bay, I'm right there with you, but just slightly off. So I picked the Saints to go 10-6. You got them 12-4. I do think one game is the separation between these two teams, and I got the Bucs going 11-5, just as you. And I've actually got Tampa Bay winning this division. I agree, 9-12 win range, but as an analyst, I don't see how you can look at this team with that much talent on both sides of the ball and not have them, in contention to win the whole damn thing. I mean, they got to be the favorite, them and the Chiefs, to play in the big game. The 49ers are right there with talent, the Saints, but the Bucs are a threat. And anytime you got Brady, Brady's brand new to the NFC. The NFC is going to find out quick what it's like to have Tom Brady in the conference. So it's going to be huge. We both agree it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm not sure if it's 100% yet or if they're going to change it or not, but I'm hoping the Bucs come to Chicago week 5 on Thursday night to play the Bears, and that's a game I want to be at. So I'd love to see Brady and the Bucs. So I'm hoping they let fans go to that. But either way, it's going to be an awesome year, and I can't wait for it. Thanks for coming on, Brett. Good shit as always.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is going to be must-see football all year long with these Bucs. So thanks guys for tuning in. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Tell us if you think the Bucs are going to miss the playoffs. Tell us if you think they're going to win the Super Bowl. Have a good week, guys. Peace out.